I'm Greg Giuliano. I'm an executive coach, organizational change consultant, and author. I believe leaders have the power to shape the future and change people's lives. I also believe people who challenge the status quo and go beyond usual and ordinary are rare. They're willing to go to the edge and push farther, over and over again. When I find these ultra leaders, I love to talk with them. In each episode, I talk with ultra leaders to learn how they do what they do and how they keep growing as leaders. I promise you a full dose of ultra leadership from other ultra leaders just like you in every conversation. We're at the edge of another episode. Let's jump in. Welcome to another episode of Ultra Leadership. My guest today is Ellen Sluder. Ellen is the Chief Marketing Officer for Smartphone.io, a leader in SaaS telecommunication for high-growth businesses. Ellen oversees brand and marketing strategy, demand and lead gen, customer success, client communications, and strategic partnerships. She leads teams in the United States, Romania, and the Philippines, so there's probably some really great nuggets to ask her around leading globally dispersed teams. She's endlessly fascinated by the intersection of people and business, one of the reasons I wanted to talk with her. She's spent her professional career focused on brand and marketing communications. In addition to her work, she also serves on 2 alumni executive boards. She's also a member of the Forbes Communications Council and a Facebook Power Admin and certified community manager. She manages several highly active online communities in her free time, bringing together her passions for human connection and technology. She lives in the suburbs of New York City with her husband, 2 daughters, a cat, a dog, and 2 guinea pigs. Sounds like my house. So there's a lot going on. I am so excited to talk to you today. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let me jump in where I'm really interested. Let's start with this. You've been leading teams. You're leading globally dispersed teams. So what's the behavior or practice of all that in your mind that if every member of the team did this, it would elevate the performance of the team?
I think one of the things that's most important for us is it's one of our core values is transparency. So it's really about the communication. So not only are we globally dispersed, but we are 100% remote. So where we meet most often is in the virtual and digital realm. Often it is Zoom, it is human, it is live, but we do a lot of collaboration online. We have a lot of collaboration tools. And so the thing that's most important for me is that nobody is off in the corner quietly by themselves doing something and gets too far down a path without input from other people or without oversight in some way. So we really encourage everybody to come together, whether that's on Slack, we use a tool called Podio as our project management and workflow management. And so we want to make sure everybody's in the communal space as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. How do you align people around the concept of collaboration and what that means? Because it can mean different things for different people. You and I can say we're going to collaborate. And for me, that means I'm going to show you my finished product and you're going to give me a thumbs up. And for you, it means we're going to do it all together all the way through. So how do you get to a common understanding of what do we mean by collaboration?
Yeah, of course, there's always sort of leading by example. When we hire people, we are looking always for some level of independence because we're not together in the same space. You have to be able to work independently, but we have to always check in. So I have this structure in my teams. It's priorities, projects, and tasks. So priorities are set on the quarterly level. What are we going to commit to? So for now, we're aiming for June 30th. What are we going to commit to for the end of Q2? What does that mean in terms of projects? And then each project has tasks, and tasks are daily or weekly. So when we start that, we do that kickoff. We do a quarterly kickoff for the priorities, but the projects is where it really comes into play, that idea of collaboration. So this is what we're going to be accomplishing. This is the end goal. This is your role in it. These are the things we're going to need you to produce. And then the tasks are the deadlines and the handoffs between people. So we really rely on technology a lot to do that. But then everybody has to be personally accountable for that work in between. We also do a lot of meetings. We do team meetings. We do project-related meetings. I do one-on-one meetings with my team members at least every other week to do check-ins with them, just to be an open resource for them. So collaboration, it's infused from the beginning, but it's a combination of independence and working together.
I love, so you mentioned so I have the ABCs of leadership and change leadership, right? So aligning people, building bench strength, coordinating action. So you spend a lot of time as a leader, it sounds, really making sure that everybody's aligned. What are we trying to do? Who's doing what, right? How are we measuring success?
And then on my weekly meetings so I have two teams, like the marketing team and the success team, which operates kind of like a sales team. And I do weekly meetings with all those teams. And we come back to those projects and priorities. I don't look at the tasks with everybody,
Right.
But we do priorities and projects on all of our meetings to make sure that we are on track. So it's not set it and forget it.
Right. But what's cool that I like is that because of your focus on creating and maintaining alignment, the coordinated action, all the tasks and stuff, people can see what we're trying to do, what's important, and really shape their work and say, oh, I've got this, I've got this. So all the tasks of who owns what, the team figures that out because you've spent the time making sure that everybody's aligned at the front end of something. And then you kind of get out of the way. So the B is building bench strength. And I know that you have a lot of experience of building marketing organizations from the ground up. And there's not just the processes and this, hiring and all that, creating the marketing, the aspect of it, but there's the cultural piece around that of building a culture in a marketing organization and in an entire organization. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that B of my ABCs, because you're doing culture shaping work all the time. So how does that happen?
So culture is so interesting for us. So our target audience, we have international clients, but mostly our target audience is the US. And I really, until this position, kind of took for granted that there is a culture that's just a business culture. But now I see how the Romanian team works, how the Filipino team works, and realizing that we have to create one culture within smartphone as the company that's going to allow us to achieve our goals. And it's one of the things I love about, we have 3 partners who are amazing. They're very, very focused on culture. They believe in brand, and they understand that brand is a foundational piece of culture. What do we stand for? Who are we? What is our promise that we give to the world and that we turn around and give to ourselves? And so for us, we have a guiding light. It's called Connect Human. It has a little play on words because we're a telecom company, so we're connecting other humans. But for us, it's very important for us to be human with our clients. They can reach us. They can talk to us. We have live support for them. But also within our company, it's very important for us to see and understand each human. And we repeat that a lot. And we talk about transparency. We talk about really honoring the individual human. There are certain positions that have to have face time. It's the nature of servicing clients for the product. But for those that don't, we work with them for flex time. A lot of our Filipino team works overnight. We have to be sensitive to them. We don't schedule meetings outside of their working hours because it really messes up their sleep schedule. And then we also do things with the company that stands behind that human aspect, which is we give them a stipend to use for a gym membership or for something that's wellness oriented. Again, in the US, we have very flexible leave policies. We're really focused on performance and not on like any kind of vanity metrics of showing up. It's more like, did you get your tasks taken care of? Are you a responsible adult? But going back to your culture piece, culture is not something that you set and forget. It's something that you have to keep coming back to. So whenever we start a new project, we go back to that brand. What is it going to mean to connect human in this way? What is it going to mean for us to be transparent if we do this? What's it going to mean? And we take those values, and even we had this big, I run all the or software. I run all the documentation, right? And we wanted our documentation, at one point when I first started, I was writing it, and then we have a documentation manager, and things have and then the tool itself evolved, and now there's more formatting options. So we have to redo our documentation so that it looks consistent. And you think that's just a styling thing. What size is the header? What does the screenshot look like? But I had them go through a strategic exercise. What is it going to mean to be friendly? What does it mean to be transparent? What does it mean in the sense of documentation? And it was what they came back with. I mean, I got goosebumps from it. It made me so proud of them. They did such an amazing job. And then that sets the tone for the project of, we have to make sure all of our headers are consistent and we're using the right color, so that we look professional in that process. So everything, it's always an ongoing process and coming back to that touchstone over and over and over again. So everybody feels safe and confident and they know. And I trust them to do it without me too, because we've done it so many times.
That kind of intention is important, right? For the individual, for the team, for the company, being very intentional about the experience we want to have while we're pursuing the result that we want to achieve. So I love the fact that you talked about the stipends and the things that you do to encourage people to take care of themselves. And some companies, when they talk about resilience, they talk about resilient systems and processes. You're talking about resilient people, helping people be resilient, right? That energy management to show up and be as present as possible in a virtual setting, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about making space for people to be human. One of the things that's just really important for me is, of course, when I'm hiring someone, I'm hiring them for a position. But sometimes you get it a little bit wrong, or it's not a great fit and the job description needs to change, or they're really good at something, but this piece can go to somebody else. And so you really have to spend the time getting to know your employees as the direct manager, like where their strengths are, what's their situation, does this person have family that they have to be taking care of? Like, are they parents? Do they need to go to school performances or do whatever? And how can we work around that and flex on them? But the key is to there's that constant communication because we're not in the same office together. That's one of our biggest challenges. And I think for me, like, that's why I meet every other week with every single team member to just say, this is your time. How are you doing? What's going on in your life? Because in other work environments, those things they kind of happen. Those conversations happen.
Right.
And also, but I kind of love it because some of my quieter team members, like our graphic designer, for example, like even if I was in an office with her, I'm not sure how much we would chat. It's just her nature. And so this way she's forced to tell me how she's doing in a very friendly way on a regular basis. So It's really about seeing the individual and seeing their potential and trying to be committed to unlocking that potential within the person and not being like, what can you do for me? But seeing it's a fit, right? So how do we make the fit right? And how can we adjust the fit so that everybody can be the best employee? That's what everybody wants, right? They want to do a good job.
Absolutely. So on behalf of your team, thank you, because the kind of leadership that you are talking about is really powerful, that you're communicating the value of people intrinsically. So you're building relationships. It's not just about the transaction. It's not just about, can you produce the deliverable? The value is, no, I value you as a person.
And both.
Sadly, that's not the norm. You have to I have to teach some leaders how to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes you feel measured by the success of your team. So you want them to produce because then it reflects well on you. But, it's really which is the cart and which is the horse. If you have a happy, motivated workforce who feels seen and recognized and that what their talents are and you match the talent to the right project, like that is the team. That is the horse. And it's going to pull the cart of productivity. It's not the opposite.
Yeah. But that transition is tough for folks. So you're a master marketer and you've made the transition to being masterful at leadership, right? So, and those are different things. You're not an individual contributor anymore. Your success is dependent upon your ability to get those people to engage and activate and produce things. And so I'm curious about your development in building those muscles to make that transition from master marketer to leader. How have you done that? What's your development journey been like? And how do you keep growing as a leader?
Yeah. So, certainly big pitch for coaching. Although you and I have not worked directly together, I know you do great work. And I just really believe in the coaching process. Self-reflection is the number one thing that you can do to grow yourself as a leader. Take time. And it's not to get that feedback, to get feedback from other people, to just think about it, to ponder it. Not enough people do get focused on that productivity, and they're not thinking enough about the process or what it feels like for everybody involved. So I did coaching early in my career when I was transitioning to like a director level. I did some coaching at that point, and then I just completed some coaching this past fall, and that was really helping me to step up. I went from like a head of marketing to a real CMO position back in February. So helping prepare myself for that transition. So that's been a really important part. I also worked as a consultant for a long time. I think that's really interesting because when you see, sometimes you learn by like, ooh, I don't want to be like that, and you see in other people, you see other people's stress points and, so being observant and other folks can be really helpful. I don't actually read a lot of like books and that kind of stuff, but I do enjoy podcasts. I enjoy like TED Talks and other kinds of, I do lots of webinars. I work I work with a lot of, I work with our strategic partners. So I try to attend their events, and just the more you can rise above and get into your strategic mind, I think the better perspective you can have. And also for me, it just makes me calmer. When I'm stuck too much in the stuff and the things and the activities and whatnot, it almost can speed me up. And when I take a moment to step back and think about strategy and big picture, there's something that's, for me, it's more inspiring and it's calming, and it just reminds me like why I'm doing this, where we're going, what the whole point of the activities are. So it just gives me a better perspective.
Yeah. So senior leaders like you creating space to just be and think is really critical. So I pulled that out of what you just said. So that's a great lesson for other leaders like you of making space, being intentional. No, I need time in my calendar to just think, to look ahead, just right.
And I also put that to my team. I tell my marketing team, I want them to spend at least 1 hour a week learning. So it's a webinar, it's a class on Coursera, it's your favorite marketing blog, it's a Facebook group that's professionally driven. I ask them to spend an hour a week just thinking themselves, something everyone can benefit from.
I also love and I appreciate your perspective on coaching, that coaching is not remedial work. It is not fixing anything. It is development work. Mm-hmm. It is intense leadership and personal development. It is not remedial. Somebody calls me and says, "I have this leader and man, they're a mess. They really need a coach." It's like, no, that's not coaching. They don't need a, yes. That's for me. Coaching is not remedial work. It's development work. Coaching is for your stars.
Well, I also would push you to think maybe coaching's not always, you hear the term executive coaching, so you think executive, right? You think C-suite. But I, as a director level, back in my 20s, really benefited from that because it changed my mindset. It helped me to think about work differently. So it's for your rising stars, not just people who are already stars.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No, some of my favorite coaching relationships and conversations were opportunities I had coaching early career, high potential leaders in organizations and helping point them in the right direction and help them at the beginning of their path as leaders. It's an amazing investment for organizations to make, and the return is going to be incredible.
And it's something that, again, I love my leadership team. It's something that they're committed to as well. We actually have a trainer on retainer, and we don't do some people get one-on-one coaching, and that does tend to be more the leadership level, but we do classes. So we did one, I think I mentioned this to you before, but we did it on social styles where we all got to learn, it's 4 quadrants. It's very basic, but it created a really fun language for us. Again, it takes you out of the activities and tasks for a moment, allows you to take a broader perspective on things. We have a leadership academy inside of our company that is teaching the people who are going to be rising up to second level managers, teaching them some of the basics of communication, of how to handle conflict, how to have difficult conversations, some of these things that you can learn by doing, but you also can be taught. So let's accelerate that process. Let's get that in. So coaching and having a leadership mindset is something that's very much a part of our culture.
I love it. So there was all my ABCs. You covered them all.
Well, it's perfect formula.
You're aligning people, you're building people, you're coordinating action. I love it. Touchdown. Ellen, this has been great. So I like to end meetings and coaching conversations with an expression of gratitude. I am really grateful for you being here today. I'm curious, in your life, what are you grateful for today?
Oh, well, I'm always grateful for the opportunity to talk about these things at a broader level. And I've said it probably too many times already, but I am so grateful for my leadership team who is committed to personal growth. So to have this space and this time and to have it be a priority for us to have like a little bit more of an intellectual conversation and to come to a common understanding, that's just been really, really powerful. And it empowers me to then be able to lead my teams better. So I'm super grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. This has been fantastic. I'm sure everybody who's listened has gotten something out of it. I've learned a ton. I really appreciate your time, sharing your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you so much.
All right. And thank you for listening in to another episode of Ultra Leadership. Until next time, thanks. If you're enjoying Ultra Leadership, please take a minute and give us a review wherever you find your podcasts. And please stay in touch. Sign up for our Ultra Leadership newsletter at ultraleadership.com. Now, before you jump to your next meeting, I invite you to reflect on what you heard today. What stood out for you? What insight might you want to incorporate into your leadership practice? Until next time, remember, as a leader, you always have the power to shape the future and change lives. So go to the edge and push farther. Thanks for listening.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.